is the story of Narcissus, who famously in Greek myth is the young man who falls in love with his own reflection in a pool. And that's where we get the word narcissistic from in English. And it starts with dumque, so que meaning and dum meaning while. And then the main verb here is cupit, which means he desires. We don't actually have a subject here, but the subject implied is Narcissus. So, and while he seeks to sedare, sedare meaning to sort of, well, in English we get the word sedate from it. So to sort of calm or suppress something, I suppose. And in this case, since the object is sitim, sitis meaning a thirst, we might translate sedare as to quench. So while he tries or desires or wants to quench his thirst, altera sitis, another thirst, crevit, has grown. So crevit is the perfect tense of a common verb in Ovid, which is cresco, crescere, crevi, cretum, which means to grow. So another thirst springs up. Dumque bibit, and while he drinks. And then we have here, with this word correptus, we have a nominative word, which is referring back to the subject, Narcissus, and it's a PPP from corripio. And as always, the literal translation of a PPP is having been something. So in this case, having been literally snatched, but we might say having been grabbed, having been captivated by the image, imagine. So imagine is the ablative singular of imago, imaginis, meaning an image. So having been captivated by the image of something. And in fact, the of brings us to visi formae, because those words are both genitive. So formae is the noun, of a form, and visi is the word describing formae. In fact, it's another PPP, right? It's from video videre, vidi visus, or visum. In this case, it's visi, because it's agreeing with formae. And so literally it means of a having been seen form. So the whole phrase means something like captivated by the image of a seen form, or you could say of a form that he had seen. And then the main verb here is amat. So he loves, and the object is spem, which is the accusative of space, meaning hope. So he loves a hope, sine corpore. Now, sine plus ablative means without, so he loves a hope without a body. And what this refers to is the fact that he's falling in love with an image of himself, his reflection, and that's the hope, because he hopes to be with this person. But in fact, this is a hope without a body, because it's just a reflection. There's no body there, it's just a reflection. And then this phrase here, beginning with corpus, is slightly difficult. Literally what it means is something like, he thinks, putat, to be a body, esse corpus, he thinks to be a body, that which, quod, is shadow, umbra, or shade. And it might be easier to translate it the other way around. So it might be easier to translate quod umbra est first. So that which is shade or shadow, he thinks to be a body. So the thing which in reality is just a reflection, he thinks is a real body. And because he thinks that it is a real body, we're in that construction, that grammatical construction called indirect statement. That's why we have the infinitive, esse. And the accusative would be quod. So he thinks that which is a shadow to be a body. So that's how the grammar works in that sentence. Then we have ad stupet ipse sibi. So the subject is ipse, so he himself. Ad stupet is just third person singular, present tense. So he wonders at, and it takes dative, and then you have sibi. So literally, he himself wonders at himself. So the two pronouns there, ipse and sibi, show how strange the situation is. Ovid is emphasizing the fact that he's looking at himself, not someone else. So you've got the pronoun ipse and then the reflexive pronoun sibi. He himself wonders at himself, and that's que. And then the next main verb is hairet. Now, haireo is quite a common verb in Latin. It means to stick to or cling to. It's where we get the word adhesive from in English. If something is adhesive, it means it sticks to something. So he clings to, and in fact here just means clings on, I suppose. He clings on, he holds on. Immotus, motionless, and that's nominative masculine singular describing Narcissus. He clings motionless. Vultu eodem. So those are both ablative, they're going together, and that means with the same expression. Right, so eodem is this ablative singular form of edem, which means the same, and vultu is the ablative singular of vultus, meaning a face or an expression. And vultus is a very common noun, so that's one worth learning. So he clings on, motionless, with the same expression. And then we have this word ut here in line 5. So when you see ut, you need to look and see what's going with it. Because if you have ut with a subjunctive verb, then it means usually in order to do something. It expresses purpose. Or it can be in a result clause. So, like, it is so hot that I had to drink lots of water or something. So if you've got ut with the subjunctive verb, then you're in a purpose clause or a result clause. Here, though, we don't have that. In fact, ut isn't going with any verb at all. So if you've got ut with an indicative verb or with no verb at all, it just means as or when. So in this case, he clings on as a signum, as a statue. So signum can mean just a sign, but in this case, I think it's a statue. So as a sign, or like, as a statue, or like a statue, having been made, so formatum is a PPP, a statue having been made from pario marmore. So that's an ablative phrase. The noun is marmore, the adjective is pario, and they're both ablative. Having been made formatum from Parian marble. So that means marble from the Greek island Paros, which was famous for its marble. And again, as we've seen in other texts, in other passages, if you've got a capital letter at the beginning of a word, you know it's a name. It's a name of a person or a place or something like that. In this case, it's a place. It's the island of Paros. So made from Parian marble. And then we have this adjective here, imprudens. Now here, imprudens means something like unwitting or unawares, even foolishly, something like that. He, cupit se. So cupit means he desires, and se is the accusative reflexive pronoun. So he desires himself. So unwittingly, he desires himself. In other words, he's desiring himself without realizing it. He thinks he's desiring someone else, but he's not. So unwittingly, unawares, he desires himself. And qui probat ipse probatur. Now remember, qui can mean who, but it can also mean he who, or the person who. And that's what it means here. So the person who praises, probat, he himself, ipse, is praised, probatur. So he who praises, he himself is praised. So Ovid is emphasizing that this is not like a normal relationship. Normally, Narcissus would be praising someone else, but in this case, he's praising himself. So the person doing the praising is also the same as the person being praised, because Narcissus is praising himself. And then Ovid sort of repeats this point in line 7. Dumque petit, and while he seeks, he is sought, petitur. So Ovid is playing with the active and the passive. You've got the two active verbs, probat and petit, and they are balanced by the two passive ones, probatur and petitur. So he who praises, he himself is praised, and while he seeks, he is sought. And equally, so que meaning and, pariter meaning equally, he accendit, he kindles something, like accendit is to set fire to something, and he ardet, he burns. So ardeo is I burn. So in other words, he's the one lighting the fire, but he's also the one burning in the fire. So Narcissus is playing both roles in the relationship. That's the point. So he equally kindles, sets the fire, and also burns. So the metaphor is one of fire, but of course this is really about love here. And then you get this word quotiens. Now quotiens means how often, and here it's part of an exclamation. So how often he did such and such. So how often, and then the main verb is dedet. So how often he gave, and then we need an object. So what did he give? And the object is oscula, which means kisses. And osculum is a kiss, quite a common word in Ovid that's worth remembering. And the adjective agreeing with it is irrita, sometimes written inrita with an N instead of the first R. And irritus means vain or pointless. So how often he gave vain or pointless kisses to the, so here we have the dative fonti, to the pool, and the pool is described with a dative adjective phallaki, which means deceptive. And of course, what Ovid means by this is that the kisses are irrita, they are vain or pointless because there's no one in the pool. And the pool itself is phallaki, it is deceptive, because it makes Narcissus think there's someone in it. Right? The reflection on the surface makes him think there's another person in the pool when actually there isn't. So the pool is deceiving him. It is phallaki, it is deceptive. And then we get quotiens again. So how often? And then you've got to go quite far here for the main verb. How often did he mersit? How often did he plunge? Mergo, mergere. So that's where we get the English word submerge from. And also the noun immersion, or if you immerse something. So how often did he plunge? And then the object is brachia. So how often did he plunge his arms, his brachia, in mediis aquis, so in the middle of the waters, literally. How often did he plunge his arms in the middle of the waters? And then you've got captantia. Now, captantia is a present participle, which means from capio capere, so it means taking, capturing, grabbing. But it's agreeing with brachia. So how often did he plunge his arms that were grabbing at the collum visum? A collum is a neck, visum is a PPP, meaning having been seen. So if you put that whole line and a half together, you get how often did he plunge his arms, brachia, that were grabbing at captantia, the neck, column, that he had seen, visum, in the middle, in mediis, of the waters. That's the literal meaning of that line and a half. And then we have nec, which means and not. So, and he did not deprendit. This is from deprendere or deprehendere. It's the perfect tense. So, and he did not catch, and then the object is se, himself. So, and he did not catch himself in plus ablative, meaning in, and then illis, meaning them. So, and he didn't catch himself in them. And the word illis here is referring back to the aquis. So he didn't catch himself in the waters. And of course he didn't, because in fact it's just a reflection there.